Namaste and welcome to Sampoorna Naari Talks. And today I Poonam Upadhyay welcome all of you. And today again we have a wonderful woman with us, Lucy Melinova. Welcome Lucy to Sampoorna Naari Talks. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We would love to explore your journey.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Namaste.
So let me tell you about Lucy. She is a London-based entrepreneur, human resource specialist in multinational corporations, and currently she supports telemanagement at Microsoft, fast-growing technology startups and scale-ups, career advisor, transformation and life purpose coach, writer and artist in spare time, passionate about personal growth and transforming lives through practical physiology and effective coaching tools. Welcome, Lucy. And I know there's this is a short introduction, and you have more feathers in your cap. And the interesting part is, people usually they are into some corporate this job, doing corporate jobs, or in some multinational company, and then they have go through some incident, and then they realize that they have to work upon their own self, and the journey of self discovery comes. But in your case it's completely reversed. It was first you realized yourself, you were working with your own self, discovering your own path, and then this uh, that new person or new concept of entrepreneur came, and you are helping others. So welcome, and I would like you to tell about yourself in few
Okay, so thank you for the nice introduction as well. So yeah, you are right. I think my journey started with me being really interested in spirituality since the early age. So I was never an entrepreneurial woman since the start. I wasn't thinking about that way, perhaps since I turned 27, 28. So beforehand, my life was really about connecting to myself because I felt that there is so much to learn about life and to explore, to understand who we are. And it's only when we understand who we are, we can change and help the world around us, we can help others. And I think throughout my 20s, I was still exploring this. I worked for a massive corporation at the time as well. When I started working after university in my early 20s, I actually worked for big companies, but I felt that I couldn't give so much of myself because I was still in that self exploration process. So I was going through the journey at the time, and my job was actually extremely exhausted, and it was demanding and very busy. So I understood that environment requires a lot from a person. Like it takes a strong woman, a strong person to manage all the aspects of it, and it also requires a lot of male energy. But at the time, I wanted to connect with my feminine side more. So after 2 years there, I stepped away, and I was exploring my spirituality for about 3 years of kind of deep studies. I set up myself as a freelancer at the time. I don't think I had enough power to set up a business at the time, but I just wanted to gain more freedom to explore what I wanted to do. And at the time, I really connected with coaching. So I was already experienced as an HR consultant at the time, which means I was helping companies to grow their human resources, to hire talent, to develop talent, to make sure they can retain talent, and to be not competing the other companies on the market, but to cooperate with them as well in a way that they are not stealing of talent from one another, but that they can find a way to kind of breach the barriers to offer the right options to right people. So that's what I was doing. And I found passion in working directly with individuals and to see how I can impact their lives, for instance, by helping them to understand what is it that they want. And that helped me to understand myself in return, because I was meeting these candidates, these people that I was meant to hire in companies, or they were already in companies and they wanted a raise, they wanted to move certain direction. And I was asking them the questions like, where do you want to go? What is important in your life? And I learned so much about different people's aspirations, desires, that eventually I realized that this is something I want to learn even more about, and it makes me passionate to be able to help people to understand, their deeper values, goals, and things like that. And that's how I got into coaching. So my 3 years of self-exploration has a lot to do with coaching. So I started learning about coaching. I actually got a few coaches myself. One was more of a professional coach to focus on my business goals or achievement. And then there was a very mindful coach that's a friend of mine now, who focused, and she's a brilliant female as well, who focused on my personal development. And it helped me so much that I wanted to help others as well. So during my self-employment, I started coaching people. I was helping them to choose the career, to develop themselves. And I think as I was growing in this space and becoming stronger person, then I felt that I can make even more impact if I set up a business, like a coaching business, and I focus on individuals. So that's what I've been doing over the last, say, 2 to 3 years. Actually, since 2017, so it's almost 5 years. But over the last 3 years, I've taken businesses in that space as well. And I started focusing on helping businesses as organizations to hire people, because I realized that businesses, they have so much impact. They employ so many people. And, with so many resources, they are making massive impact in the world. So we rather make sure that that impact is a good impact for the world, and that people are happy working somewhere, because we spend in majority of our life working, as individuals who are having jobs, commuting to work, and then carrying out the jobs. So we want to make sure that that time is worthwhile, that we do things that we love. And so I like to develop people within businesses now. So I kind of connected two parts, somehow naturally, intuitively over the years.
That's really great. Like balancing all the things properly. That's really great. And people, if we have that mindset when we have to focus on overall development. Definitely, wherever we work or which firm also, if you like individual like you go, definitely they will see the success. So that's really nice, and I'm definitely sure the mentors and the mentees whom you are teaching both will be quite happy. So let's start from beginning. So that's really inspiring, and yeah, we have to work is the thing, as you said, we do it lifetime. So many things we have to today ask you about how your journey is and how we can balance things. But let's start from childhood, because each and
Mhm.
every there are some influence always there which shows us the way where we are today. So I want to know about your childhood. How was your childhood? How any memories connected to your childhood, with the passion you are living today, and just share your
Mhm.
experience with us.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think this is one of the most amazing questions to be asked, because it's such a journey to dive back into childhood, and each of our childhoods are kind of so different, so transformational, and they indeed form who we become. And we can carry loads of positive, like things like memories, but also some blockages, because we all come from certain environment that shapes us, and it can bring also some challenges. So, but it's like great experience that I've got from my childhood is that I was raised in a smaller town and based in the midst of the mountains in Slovakia in Central Europe. And it was in a protected region within like a natural reserve region. So it was midst of the mountains. We used to have all 4 seasons there. Spring really hot, proper spring with everything blooming, hot summer, um, and really beautiful, colorful autumn and winter full of snow. So I remember my childhood with me being really playful. I was spending a lot of time outside, basically 3 seasons, since spring till autumn. I think majority of the time I was spending outdoors. And my dad, he's an engineer, but he has a passion for gardening, and he kind of taught me, he engraved in me this love for nature and natural world. And I'm also into astrology, and my dad, he's an air sign, and air signs, they love to be outdoors, and they love this free flowing energy. So I really resonated with that. So my childhood was really, I was like a wind flying around, exploring places. And we had this massive garden close to where I lived. And I used to go there regularly with the dad, and it was close to the forest. So I remember like dreaming of this magic land. And that's some of the best memories because I visualized so many things and they were real for me as a child. So I had such a rich inner world. And it fueled some of my passions, which was I was always thinking like how world could be better. So I was writing then those visions on a paper. I started creating little stories as a child, and I was very creative. I was doing some handwork and creating from pottery or little things out of different materials, out of wood. I was helping my dad around, and gardening and spending time outdoors is a big part of childhood. Also, I remember we have this beautiful garden. It's on top of one hill, and my dad, he installed a swing for me in one of those trees, and I remember like swinging there with this beautiful view of the town which was below us. And it's really fascinating. And the other memories, they are connected with my cousin. So I'm an only child, but I do have a cousin who is a bit younger than me, but we always were like sisters to each other. They lived close by. We were visiting each other regularly, and we developed this dreamland together. We were always like dreaming of the places, and it was like this fantasy world. And what is interesting is that when later on in my 20s, I've dove deep into spirituality, I realized that that magic land that I was dreaming of as a child, it's indeed real. Like we can make it happen in our lives, with manifesting, with that we actually have power as adults to make things happen. And there is so much of power that we have within ourselves with these active manifestations and things like that. So yeah, and I remember my loving parents spending a lot of time with me, and some memories also connect to us traveling countries. So I got really passionate about like traveling, exploring different cultures, understanding people. Some of the best holidays I spent was in Greece, and I'm really attracted to water and the sea. And it was the first time, I guess, when I learned to swim, and I was in the water, and I still remember the feeling of feeling kind of being a part of everything. That's what the swimming gives me, that feeling, especially in the sea, that I'm just like this little little part, like a little seed that is part of the whole universe. And it's beautiful feeling of kind of connecting with nature. So loads of my experiences are linked with nature and creativity.
Wow,
That
that's
would be.
really awesome. And I could see the spark in your eyes when you were speaking about your childhood. Like you actually, and your wives also like made me think about how you must have felt, because usually now when we live in cities, it's just a dream to see forests, gardens, and especially if you're connected to nature, it's a big thing. You know the importance of that, and I think that
Yeah.
has given you the proper base from there which you have grown. Like that's really nice and awesome.
Yeah, I think it links with my passions as well, because this is something which I understood just later on in life. But I used to be super creative as a child. So with my friend, we were making this little jewelry, like earrings, and I was always fascinated by colors. And I really resonate with Indian culture as well. I think I must have spent some past lives in India because the food, the culture, it really resonates. So with friends, we used to make this like colorful jewelry and loads of different accessories. And I used to also do dance classes. I was doing drama, some courses in singing. I played piano, and I was writing. And when I turned adult, I realized that it's very, very important for me to be created in these different ways. So now I'm actually going to be starting post-COVID again a dance class. Movie is very important for me. Now I'm painting as well as I used to as a child. In my free time, I love the arts. I'm writing as well actively, and possibly they will change into my other career. And also sometimes I give talks. So I connected all those things that I already had as a passion as a child in my future. So it kind of, went all the way to my present now as well. So that's interesting in terms of
That's
passion.
really awesome. Wow. Like, how did you become so passionate? Like, and how did you? Because we all live in that fairy tale, that thing, but then somewhere one thing is we lose our inner child as soon we grow up. And another
Mhm.
thing is then we feel like many burdens, other things come up and we forget. So how did you maintain that passion and what kept you passionate? Like you're doing all that thing today. It's really enormous and we all should do it. Actually, that is the one thing we should never let go. But now the situation
Mhm.
is such that, we are easily affected by the situation, what is outside. So how did this passion
Yeah.
went on and still it's going on? Tell us the secret.
Um, that's a great question, actually. I don't think it's got an easy answer, because to me, I believe it was a journey. Um, so I had this really rich inner child within me that strived for experiences, for adventure, for learning, for this beautiful world that we can build. But I think somewhere when I was around 12, 13, and I seen the world, I became more accustomed to the world as it is. So I think that inner child in me got a little bit locked in. And I think I became a little bit more introverted. And I started thinking that maybe what I'm dreaming is not really possible for it to happen in real life. So I think I've kind of locked up. Uh, and part of my passion was dormant inside my heart. So I wasn't expressing it because I was thinking that maybe it's not possible. So I developed this notion that maybe this cannot happen in real life. So that I don't think that I was able to kind of have this strong passion throughout because we all go through the journey. And I think it's perfectly, I just want to be transparent. And I think everyone experienced the time where, they don't feel so confident about themselves, about the goals or the things that they dream. But there was a reawakening of my inner child again, because I think from say 13 till maybe 17, 18, that was my time when I was learning about the world, I was learning about myself, and I felt restricted. So there were the years where I always felt like something was missing. And what was missing was the passion, because I locked some of my ideals inside me. And I started then questioning myself and asking, like, what is it that would actually make me passionate? And the transition which I had was, I remember during that time, I used to kind of feed myself with things from the material world, but they could never give me satisfaction. So I remember maybe around being 17 to 20, I used to be a shopaholic. I used to buy a lot of things, I attend loads of events, and I felt that the more I attend, the more places I go, the more things I acquire, like physical items, it would make me happy, but it actually never had. It could never give me any pleasure. And at some point, I actually told myself, I realized that has to stop. Like I told myself, I had enough. This can never feed me. And then I started going back to that inner child. So I started questioning what actually gives me joy. And I found it in simple things. So I started connecting back to those joys from my childhood. So I think the answer now, as I'm thinking about it, is if we want to keep the passion, we should remember who we were as children, and we should revisit that inner child within us and actually connect with this either through meditation or try just holding our hands on our heart and asking that inner child, how do you feel? And connecting with it, and feeling to it. And when we are alone in our inner space, and there is just silence in us, and we close our eyes and breathe in and breathe out and then connect to our heart, that the child is there and it will always give us those answers. And I think that what makes it possible to connect is our intuition, and we females have this incredibly beautiful, powerful, strong intuition. And when we connect with that, we can draw so many answers. So I think through intuition, I was able to connect back to my inner child. And that's what driven all my, self-development later on, because I understood that there is so much more that I want to explore. It's not the artificial material world, but it's my inner world. So I started exploring that, and I went like deeper, 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 studying different philosophies, trying to learn about myself through astrology, through numerology, through psychology. And it has opened so much of a rich inner world for me that it was feeding that inner child. So that child is now connected with me. I wanted to dream, I want the dreams of that little child to come through in this life. So I'm trying to do all I can because it makes me happy. So I think that as long as we stay connected and find ways to connect to our passions, and the other thing is that maybe often we females, we kind of give up on our dreams because when we are growing up, we tend to tell ourselves way too often that some of the dreams we had, like, oh, but this isn't possible because perhaps we say I'm this old, or it's not easy for this to happen. I don't have resources for this. I don't have time for this now. But this is all just very easy excuses, because if we keep exploring them and asking, but why? But why? And why can't you make it happen? Then we realize that often it's just blockages. It's so possible for us to kind of unlock and shift that reality, because even for moms or for females who have business and have like difficult career, they can always find even a little bit of time to make their inner child happy. And it's so important, I think, for us to have fulfilling lives, especially as females, because we have so much of power, to express ourselves. So in such a diverse way through our intuition. So I think it's about discovering it and owning that power. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure.
That's really nice. Explain it so beautifully, and actually, you've given a solution to many women. Like, it's very important to be connected to ourselves, our inner child, let it grow, play, so that
Mhm.
we always, like it said, that it is a journey, not a destination. And I always, try
Absolutely.
to remember this for myself and also for others. So we have to enjoy each and every moment. So the way
Hmm.
you connected, each and every one of us can connect that way. It will actually help us to come over and think in our own terms. So that will
Definitely.
really help us to grow. That's really nice. I think all of you who are listening, Lucy has given, like, it's so simply she has explained, and she has given that this you can take it as a task and do it. It will really help. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
That's really nice to see, right? You can see your inner child blooming and like growing. You're
And
watching it every.
what I would maybe also add, Poonam, is that I think that once we connect with that inner child, so we rediscover our passions, we realize that they were never truly kind of dead, that we never given up on them. They are still there. They are still there. They are waiting to be discovered. And what's so beautiful about that is that our inner passions connect so much with our life purpose. So part of what I do now is focusing on life purpose and helping others to find their life purpose. And I really found in many people's stories that what they dreamt of becoming as children, it is so similar to their life purpose. So it's always like when we are children, we do know what we want. We are so clear on that. But then all the restrictions comes from the society, from friends, family, community. It's like, you should do that. You should do that instead. And we tend to limit ourselves, but try to rediscover those passions, because it will fuel your life. It will give you a sense of purpose, and that's so amazing. That's the reason why it makes sense to be alive, and it makes life so fulfilling. So I think it's very, very important. Actually, just last Friday I had a coaching session with one of my friends, uh, and he's Indian, and he was doing his exercise to discover his life purpose, and it was amazing because we were doing a drawing exercise. It's called 9 lives. So a person is supposed to draw 9 different lives of who they could be if they don't have any limitations, if there are kind of all possibilities on the table. And he was drawing himself in kind of different, pictures, and in so many of them, it was connected with what he was dreaming of since being a child. And now he rediscovered, and he was fascinated. He was like, whoa, it's like I already knew back then, and now I'm just remembering. So this is like a really important lesson, which was there for me, that it always has to, it is always connected with our childhood passion to some degree. We just have to explore it.
Wow, that's really nice. So, who all inspired you, like being in this journey? Because we ourselves are like, we take time to discover ourselves. So, in this journey, who all were the inspiration? Who inspired you to go through? Because people might not understand what you are doing and might not resonate
Yeah.
to it. So,
I think there is so many people, but I was thinking about this prior to our talk just to be a little bit prepared. So different people inspired me in different ways. And if I have to pick a few biggest inspirations, so when it comes to writing, one of my big dreams since childhood was to inspire others through a written word. So I started writing. And now I rediscovered that passion again, and I'm actively writing and sharing knowledge. I'm actually working on my first book now. I will see when it comes out, but I'm really passionate about that. So, who inspired me to be really creative and to strive for inspiring others was one a Brazilian author, a writer called Paulo Coelho, because the way he expresses his spirituality and he's sharing knowledge and his observation of the world, I found it really beautiful, and I connected with him so much since maybe being in my early teens. I was 15, 16. I started reading his books and I was mind blown. So he was the person who inspires me to be creative. Then another female author is called Elizabeth Gilbert, who visited India a couple of times, and she discovered her spirituality in India actually, and through traveling, through doing her inner journeying. And she went through so many even painful transformations, and she grew from them, and she became stronger. And this inspires me in terms of finding the inner power within me, and knowing that I do have the power within me. I just need to find it. Um, and then there are some people who are even more close to me who inspired me. So some businessmen also inspire me, or people who try to make the world a better place. But I'm most inspired by people from the creative industry as well. But those ones who are kind of connecting the vision with reality. Um, there are some inventors as well, and one of my actually friends and a person that I know personally, I had a chance to meet. He is a visionary author, and a person who tries to help people to understand nature and how it connects to our lives. And we kind of became really disconnected from the natural world, and we stopped considering it as sacred as it is. But he's coaching businesses and showing businesses that nature is actually such a natural part of where we are, and we shouldn't try to exploit it, but see it as a part of the cycle that we are living in. He's called Giles Hutchins. He's an English writer, author, coach, businessman as well, and person close to me. So he's been a big inspiration, because he is kind of doing the things which I want to achieve. He's already helping businesses to change their perception, and to become kind of more open-minded and more aware and conscious of the decisions that they are making. And this is what I strive to do. So he fueled that desire in me. And another person would be one of the professors from my university during my studies, who is also a massive visionary and a brilliant guy. He's called Gaudens Asenza. And I had a chance to work with him on a couple of projects. And he strives to also help to help people to see everything in a more holistic way. So he set up a few initiatives. For instance, one of them is called University for the Future, which is to teach children how to be more sustainable, how to be more independent, and also to learn about what they want, who they are. Another person who thinks in a similar way, who impacted me, is called Yehuda Tegar. He also teaches something called psychosophy. So it's a philosophy which helps people to understand their inner selves since being children, and to connect with their spirituality, to connect with their emotions, to learn to process their emotions. So it's connecting psychology, sociology, economy, and all these kind of different aspects. So these were probably the few people who inspired me the most and impacted
wow,
me.
wow! I must say you are blessed with beautiful people around, because in the schools, what here we are seeing nowadays, even the value education which we had is removed. So people are moving. We feel we are moving ahead, but then the spirituality, connecting to the nature. These are the basic things which are required, and
Yeah.
it will actually define our life purpose, and if we are working on any firm or any corporate or any field which we like, we will give our 100%. And we should remember we are not running a rat race or in competition. It's our own journey and we have to explore it fully. So that's really
It's true.
nice that people are working on it, because yeah, please please let us know also, because here also in the education system there should be some part of which should be installed. So somewhere, if
Mhm.
some schools or some principals are listening, if you have something where this
Mhm.
things also can put and applied in the school, this will be a really big thing, and it is required for human development. We have to
Definitely.
all the parts, all the six aspects where development comes. We cannot focus on only one or two, and what the current situation is there, we need it more, so that afterwards, if something a pandemic like situation arises, people are more like they don't react, they respond, and so that internally they have peace and externally also that peace is spread. So it's really nice to know your mentors and all that everyone inspired you, so we can understand the byproduct
Mhm.
or whatever you have learned from where you are spreading that vibes to others. It's really strong. But yeah,
Thank
the journey, and you will have, like, you must have lots of struggle and challenges in this, because hardly I know that hardly people understand such type of thing and support you, or but I want to know about you. How was your
you.
life, and how, which struggle and challenges you faced in your life journey, and how did you tackle that?
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned one of them, which was, I think, understanding who I am and my personal identity. I think that was the biggest challenge because as a child, I knew who I was and I knew myself. But then I think I tried to adapt to society and I made myself into a person who I wasn't. And I think it also has to do, maybe many females who are listening can relate to this, but sometimes parents can impact who we think we are so much because they want the best for us, but they may actually impact us to be more like them. But the most beautiful thing that any parent can do is allow their child a freedom to understand their own selves. And this was the struggle that I faced. And I know that in many Indian families specifically, this is the struggle that everyone faces because parents, they obviously, they love their children, they want the best for them. But often the children, they know what they want for themselves more than the parent know, because their inner self, it knows since the early age. So I faced this challenge where my mom, she had kind of high expectations. She seen me as a powerful and intellectual child, so she wanted to direct me in a way where she thought that my creativity, intellect, and power can manifest the best. But it wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. So I was growing up thinking that that's the person who I am. So I believe that I was an extroverted person who should kind of maybe get involved in politics. That was the career of my mom because she made me believe that that's kind of my direction. But during my maybe when I was in my 17 and 18, I started doubting that. It was my teenage years when I started kind of questioning myself. And my challenge was that I didn't feel connected to the person who I was expressing on the outside. So I was acting as this extroverted social girl who was getting involved in many social kind of activities and associations and striving to maybe go into politics one day. I actually studied diplomacy as an impact of my parents, of my mom particularly. But the fact is, that wasn't my calling. And I felt deep inside that what I'm pursuing, it wasn't giving me joy. That was kind of the main reason why I felt that something is wrong, because I didn't feel passion for what I was expressing. So I started kind of questioning this, and my challenge was to understand who I really was, and that's what driven all my study of spirituality and diving deep, understanding my shadows, understanding all the untruths. It's like we are this beautiful flower, but sometimes we put so many layers on ourselves, and then we hide the flower that we are. So we need to open those layers and understand what the flower is. And I had to do the same. So the challenge was for me to understand what's my identity and who I really am, and to remove all those things that the society put on me, that my friends made me believe that I was, that my parents made me believe that I was, to really understand that I'm this person who wants to express myself, you know, who wants to serve others, who wants to work with people, who wants to make them grow. Because if I follow the other path, I would probably be there somewhere out there, having maybe a high position, but not being happy, not feeling it in my heart. So that was the first kind of fundamental challenge. And the second challenge, I think, was when I first started in the world of business, and I was learning how it operates, and I realized that there was a lot of kind of discrepancy if in how I believed that everyone functions in a world of, like, in a serious life, and what was the reality, because I expected people to be kind of genuine, hardworking, always trying for the best of everyone. But I seen that there was a lot of self-interest instead, a lot of competition, self-interest, and kind of not even caring for not one another so much. And my challenge was to be able to function in that environment and to find my place, and even to be able to impact in a different way, because I didn't want to, change myself into this egotistic, competitive person who has to kind of drive her way forward to make things happen. So, and I think I managed to keep my true face. And in my company that I worked for at the time, I was kind of trying to shine my light. And I see that it made an impact on my team and that it impacted other people. So I think that it was the challenge of facing reality, and maybe even the reality of business. And then the third challenge was when I decided to walk my own path, to kind of walk out of the security of the corporate business and set up my own business and walk in, walk on my own feet, take responsibility for earning my own income, having to secure my own clients, make sure that the money is flowing in my account, that I've got like enough resources to continue doing what I loved, which was coaching and helping people to find right career, to move with their life. So the challenge was to make it happen, to take that responsibility. And it wasn't easy. This was probably, I wouldn't say that was most difficult challenge, but it lasted a long time, and it was the most visible one because it impacted my resources, like in terms of money, the financial situation, as well as my self-belief, my confidence in myself. And well, I managed to overcome the challenge because I creatively looked for options how to make myself successful. So I tried different things. It was through creativity and determination, and I would also say resilience. I just knew I cannot give up because I understood that the goal that I have and things I want to do, they are really important for me. So I was doing everything I could so I can stay there, make it happen. And I think this is like a challenge maybe that the universe brings to us, because when we decide to walk towards our purpose, we receive these lessons. It's like, do you really want it? Are you really ready? Those kind of lessons. And when we show that, yes, we are determined and we are going for it, this is actually what happened. It was like a massive transformation in my professional as well as personal life, because I told the universe back, yes, I'm absolutely sure I want this. And I stayed on that path. And suddenly, after the month of struggle, it brought me opportunities. So it was bringing loads and loads of opportunities to me to show that when I'm really so, determined and consistent, it is working. And I see that it is working because it gives me happiness what I do. I'm happy about what I do. So I overcame that challenge by determination and perseverance. They were the ones.
Great and very inspiring. And the things you share is with all of us. We all struggle at some point and we feel to give up, but then yes, it is very important to to believe in your path and face the challenges with that courage and smile and move ahead. Definitely, one time will come where that success will be, yours. And people will realize it. So I think that you have been doing for long, and that's why you're standing still and helping others to uh, choose their path and walk on it. So that's really great. So it's nice to know about the journeys. It inspires us a lot, and your journey is also quite like so much of that love and energy from childhood you have created, and you are still holding it, and that's really amazing, I think. uh, One more, like, many questions I have on my list, I'll be asking so that even others have, they will be love to ask you. Or so I have seen like you are very much connected to Indian like spirituality, and how in India we do it. Each and every country has a different form. How that one is how the spirituality you are holding it still in this world, where when you are dealing with corporates or when you are dealing with office, as you mentioned that people if you are on right track and 100 of them are on wrong track, you might someday feel that maybe I'm doing something wrong. So how you manage to keep that consistency? So this is my first question. And then how you connect or bring that spirituality here, because what we have excuse, if someone is spiritual, one two, they will have fear, they will not enter the field, they will think that this is unable, like this two different parts, so we can.
Yeah. Hello, I think I lost you for a moment. Hello, can we hear each other? I think we've been disconnected. Yes, you're back. Okay.
So did you listen to my question?
Yes. So the first question you asked me was about how am I able to kind of deal with the pressure and the challenges, right, where perhaps people don't agree. So, and how to keep my spirituality, how I manage to keep my spirituality. So the way that I kind of the way that I managed to survive and maybe overcome stress and, the corporate challenges is that I always do that through authenticity. I try to do it through authenticity and staying true to myself. So if there is something that I believe in, and I always try to confirm with my intuition, because I don't want to do something which would be driven by my ego. We all have egos. So I always try to check if I'm following something. Am I doing it? Am I like bringing something out because of an ego, or is it because of a purpose? And sometimes if there is a higher purpose, which is maybe, in a situation where other colleagues don't see something as being important, but for me, it has values in it. So I connect with that intuition. I know it's important. And I'm trying to be really authentic in a way that I communicate with others. And I flag to them in a very, peaceful manner. I wouldn't say using my spirituality, but working through my spirituality to do that. So I authentically communicate. So if there is, an issue and others don't understand it, or they don't see something to be of a value, I try to bring it out in a very transparent way and try to make them understand. So I bring it in terms of a story, and I also try to be peaceful. So I don't communicate in a way to kind of put my say like strong opinions or expectations ahead in terms of an order. I always try to explain and make it cooperative. So I'm trying to think of a recent example, but it's in terms of, sometimes it's in terms of the candidate experience of if we don't deliver something that we promise and other people don't realize what is the impact, but I actually tell them in terms of a story, like, okay, so imagine if this happens to our employee and this is what I go through, How do they react? Don't you think this has an impact of that? So I try to make them relate to what is the practical scenario, and also awaken. Many times it's about awakening a compassion, because business can be really kind of driven and hard. But I try to awaken compassion in people and to make them understand that sometimes it should be about values. And so to me, it's through peace and authenticity, because I need to stay peaceful to be able to manage situations. And how I maintain that peace, I always do, and how I try to also keep my ego in check, it's that when I'm under stress, I always focus on my breathing. This is like my the best tip I can give to anyone. If they are facing something very challenging at work or at home, with kids, or with everything, everyone, conflicts, and we tend to feel this overwhelm of energy, sometimes negative energy, and a very strong pull to react, not to respond, to react. And then we tend to react with our ego, to say something, to close down, to feel bad. What I do just before that, before I would react, I focus on my breath. I stop myself then. If I'm facing something and I feel like I cannot handle it, I take a moment for myself and I breathe through it. I literally breathe in and I hold the breath and I breathe out, and I focus how my energy changes. And what I'm doing is it's like I'm inviting the universe there to be in the moment with me, to help me to handle the situations. So I really want to feel that I've got the support before I jump into conclusions or telling people that they are wrong, or being reactive. So I really want to make sure that I handle it in the best way. And sometimes it also includes me taking space. So if I'm in a situation which could be a conflict, and I feel it's very stressful and there is not enough cooperation in the moment, what I do is I take those deep breaths. And if I still feel that I'm not able to manage it well, I take a space and I take people around me. Let's actually take a little break to enable everyone, to absorb whatever has happened. So I'm trying to use the spirituality in a practical way. And I see actually this very much comes from the Indian culture. So the influences that I had, the gurus that I heard, the other coaches who are my friends from all around India, some from the south, some from the north, is that there is so much peace. It's like India and people with your mentality, there is so much of inner peace that I sense from people. And it very much is missing in the Western culture. So even when you talk, I feel so much peace within you. Maybe you have loads of thoughts, but you are able to regulate your own inner peace. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's how I'm, connecting with the spirituality from India, to cultivate that inner peace, to make sure that I really focus on keeping that inner peace no matter what. So I'm doing my best not to allow the external situations to have impact over how peaceful I feel. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, definitely. And you answered it so well. It's like you're taking a mini workshop for us. So it is helpful. It will be helpful to all who are listening, in spite of any gender. But yeah, this is the thing which we require in this time. So people are losing their patience. We being at home. So I lose patience at my kids. So now I will be focusing on deep breaths. So that's really nice.
And also another thing that me and my flatmate, I live with my family, and my flatmate, who's like a sister to me, she's got a little kid who is 2-year-old, and she can be really challenging. So she loses patience, obviously, because kids, they sometimes demand too much. And we came up with this technique, when you actually do the pose from the yoga, like lifting your fingers, connecting them, and kind of lifting them in the air, and then taking that deep breath. It has even a better effect. It's like asking the universe, help me now, like stand with me. And it really helps. We found over the last few weeks that we feel so much more grounded when we do that. And we were just sharing experiences with each other, like how fantastically that helps. And sometimes when I have challenge, like too much stress on my computer with the business and everything, like today, my one of my accounts was hacked. It was linked to my business accounts, to my personal account, to my bank accounts. And my first reaction was, you can handle it,
wow,
take a deep breath.
that's great.
So that's how I do it.
That's great. And I too have my younger daughter is 2 years old, so this will help
Uh-huh.
actually help me.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, absolutely. I can relate. It could be challenging,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you. And yeah, that's really awesome. The way you actually you are into this thing. Like as we speak about spirituality, is not something different. It's just the path which is act like catalyst. So the same thing I think you are applying and making others also realize so that the work you are doing is really fabulous and keep doing that great work. And the last question from my side, as a Sampoorna Nari. So Sampoorna